Hello there, and today what we're going to do is go over what it takes to add vehicles into the game, as well as collisions with them, and adding a little bit of a screen shake for when the character dies. So let's get started. So what I've done is break this down into just a few things, objects that we have revised, and then objects that we've created that are new. One of the other things I've created is a new script for spawning cars. In the level itself, what we've done is add 5 objects, and these are actually the car spawners, and these will be used to generate the cars during a period of time. So one of the first things I did was create just a basic countdown. We created the spawners and then just had the characters start off right away, the vehicles wouldn't have time to get in the way of the player, so the player could just go straight through every time. What we want to do is make sure that they've had enough time to start getting in the way of the player. There's other ways you could probably do this as far as getting time passed before the player actually gets a chance to do anything. But so the countdown is just a basic object. Make sure it's set to where it's always visible, depending on when it's being drawn. And it's really just a three counter, and then the countdown will be set. The alarm will be set to the 1 second, and then we're making sure the game state's in a starting state. So if you recall, in our game object that we created last time, we're always looking to see if we're in a playing state and there's no player, then we'll go ahead and create a player. Since we're going to start the game off with a countdown, so actually I guess I did modify this. So the game will have a countdown. We'll create in the game object, we have the countdown that's been created, so we're going to set it to starting before the player ever gets there, and that way it's basically 3 seconds to allow for the player to or for the cars to get in position, or the logs. So in the alarm for 1 second, all we're actually doing is just decrementing the value, and once we've gone to our 0 count, we're going to go ahead and set it to start playing, and then that will trigger the game to create the player. And then the draw is a simple drawing the sprite, and then the countdown, which countdown value we're at, 3, 2, or 1. And since we're using the sprite text, the 0 is the 0 sprite, and then there's 1, 2, 3, so we're just using the index of our countdown to draw it. And so this is our sprite text. If you recall, the sprite text, and in here it's 0, 1, 2, and 3. So we're starting here at image 3, 2, 1, and then we will move off. The next thing we have is just a simple screen shake. This will be created. It doesn't have anything that's going to draw. There's no sprites to it. What we're going to do is create a duration for it, and then an intensity. So the duration is how long, intensity is how many pixels we're going to move around, and then the shake speed is how frequently we actually move the screen. In this case, we're going to do it every step, instead of doing it like every draw fresh. So then the max speed, the max shake, we're going to go ahead and set that, and then we're going to say our view angle can be, we're going to start it off at our view angle could be no more than the intensity, so 2 degrees one way or the other. So we're going to go ahead and at this point create the shake. Then we're going to start going through our duration, and if we're done with it, we're going to go ahead and set our view angle to 0. And what we really need to do is go ahead and get rid of this because it won't be needed. We're going to create it once and then we'll get rid of it. So our shake speed is how often we're going to change it. So if we change that to just a different value, we would have it not shake as violently or as quickly. But we could always increase the intensity, like how many degrees it would shake by using the intensity. So our shake speed and then our intensity one way or the other. What happens is that gets called, we've added that to our revised item. So when our death symbol gets created, we create this screen shake. And that's why we had to destroy the screen shake, because every time we die, it's going to create an object and we don't need a bunch of objects sitting out there. The next item we have is our vehicle. Our vehicles are pretty non-exciting. We're going to set it to like a -100 to make sure it's further up on the screen. I think our death, our blood is at 50, so we have to make sure it's higher. So the higher the negative value, the higher on the screen it is. So when we create our vehicle, we're just going to give it a horizontal speed and then an image speed of like how quickly it's going to play. And then our step, all we're doing is checking to see if it's gone well past the edge of the screen and just cleaning it up. And that way, because it wouldn't come back, we just want to make sure it gets cleaned up. So this really has once we create these objects, they really just move across the screen and then get destroyed. Now our player, what we've added for the player is when the player collides, so we've added a collision event for the vehicle and the player. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and destroy the player, set the game state to dying, and then we're going to create our random blood spot. So the car spawner is the object we've added to create new, and that's probably the one thing that has the most code. And this is going to do a couple things. One is just we're going to randomly pick which spawner has which vehicle, and but we're going to make sure it's unique for that spawner. So we're not going to have 2 trucks or 3 of any one car. We're going to make sure that it's unique to that spawner. And the other thing is we have a pattern. If we were going to try to implement a pattern, I've started adding that. So you could have like 2 cars go across and then a third one. I don't have anything specific for that. Right now we're just doing generic spacing, but it would allow for the possibility of pattern. The move rate is how quickly it's going to move across. The spacing is how many seconds between vehicles, and then the move direction, so that's either right or left. So this loop here is going to determine which spawner gets which vehicle. So we're going to assume we don't have one picked out, and we're going to loop through it no more than 30 times. So there, if you had a bunch of if you had a really finite number, then you probably may reach it, but this way we have a max search, and I don't want an infinite loop, so that's why we have that there. So for the infinite loop, we're only going to do it no more than 30 times. So as long as the loop is greater than 1, we're going to loop through there. So we're going to assume while it's not found, and then we're going to assume we assume it's not found. We're going to pick a sprite for it, and then we're going to loop through all of our other spawners that exist. So we're going to get the number of spawners and loop through them and look at that spawner. And as long as we're not looking at so if the spawner is equal to the one we're at now, then not found is the one that we already have. and we add this logic here, and the spawner ID, our spawner ID is not equal to the ID. So that way when we're looping through them, we're not going to compare it to ourselves. Otherwise we'll always find at least one that has a match. So this is really just our match criteria to loop through there and make sure it's unique. After we determine which one we're going to get, we're going to go through here and assign some speeds and some spacing. These are just values that I've come up with at this point in time. So like the police car will go have closer spacing and it will be a little bit faster, and then I added some variability in there. And then once we've done that, we're going to kick it off right away as far as creating something. So this alarm one is going to alarm every time we have so this is since we're pattern 1, we're going to keep kicking off our alarm for the spacing. So spacing is how many seconds times the movement speed. But we're also going to add in, take away a little bit every time we successfully finish a wave. So like after we've completed all our frogs to the top, we're going to increase our wave, and then we're going to make it a little bit faster. But we don't want it any faster than 1 second. So we're going to keep, this will get closer to 1 second, and then the maximum we assume is 100, which is well beyond whatever we're doing. And what I've done is create this spawn cars. We use the spawn ID. That way, if we want something specific for a certain one, we could always reference it, and then which way we're at. So what we're going to do is look at our spawn script. What we have is the spawn ID, so that would help us identify which spawner we're at, and then which wave. If we were going to have different functionality depending on which wave. At this point we don't. Then we're going to create a vehicle, set it to image, make the an animation, and then set the if it's a police car, we're going to have it a little bit faster of an animation, and as well as, or a little bit slower, I guess. And then set the horizontal speed that we created, take the sprite index, and that's going to be what we use, as well as the scale will be depending on the direction. So let's yeah, so this is what it looks like. We go back here. I think the only thing, yeah, so we're trying to avoid the vehicles. They're spawning. As you can see a little bit, we have animation for the blinking lights in the cop car. The tracks move. There's the wheels on the vehicles move. So they're a little bit more than just static images as the original game has. But yeah, that's what we've added. We've added our vehicles, and now we can move on to the next, the water. So until next time, good luck coding.